Welcome to today's news in Warcraft, seamlessly blending the general inanities of World of Warcraft Classic played on a controller with the horrors of today's news. We're going to stay on Nermall today, and we're going to be going over how a tariff actually works. Okay, so we'll rebuff real quick, and then we'll start in on this croc. And what I'm going to show you now is a supply and demand curve. Everything in economics boils down to one of two things. It's either supply and demand or it's a production possibilities curve. In the interest of a tariff, it is a supply and demand curve. Okay, and as you can see, demand is negatively sloped. This is very nebulous, heady math, okay? And the demand curve is negatively sloped, and that means as one goes up, the other goes down. That's all that means. As the price approaches zero, demand goes to infinity. Think about it for a minute. The air you breathe is free, right? There's no tax or anything there's no fee to breathe. And you're wanting all the air you can possibly get, right? But then, as that axis approaches a higher number, you see the slope start to go way up. And what actually happens is when demand hits zero, the price is infinity. It's very nebulous math, okay? But as one goes to zero, the other one goes to infinity, and that's what a negatively sloped curve is. That's a demand curve. Now, the supply curve is a positively sloped, so that means as one goes up, the other one goes up. It works exactly like you would think in your head. So as the price goes down to zero, supply goes down to zero. And that's the amount of goods that are available for sale, okay? It doesn't mean about like the air is free. But that was the best possible analogy to do with that. So let's get a new frosted lucky lizard over here. Where are you? And we'll go on. Now you see where they intersect, where they come together? And that is called the equilibrium point. That's where you're going to be able to clear out everything you've made, and people are going to buy everything you've made. There's no shortages, there's no surpluses. A shortage is when demand is bigger than the supply. So that curve is further out than the supply curve. And the other way around is what's called a surplus. Okay. Now, the way a tariff works, it works very similarly, if not identically, to what is called a price floor. Okay? And a price floor is a bare bones minimum price that is imposed by a government, okay, or agents of said government. You'll see that in this graph right about now. And so the price floor has to be, by default, because if it's not, then the price floor is ineffective. It has to be above the equilibrium price. Okay, and with a tariff, it does shove it above the equilibrium price. And what happens there, as you can see, excuse me, sorry, I had to cough. Teaching hurts my throat sometimes. And so, as the price is now above the equilibrium point, the price is higher. More supply, less demand. This is called a surplus. So you have a glut of items out on the shelves that either somebody's going to take a hosing on, which is not going to happen in business, or it's going to sit there at that price until it finally moves out. You hope it's a disposable item at that point. No skins on that one. So, and again, it's a government-imposed regulation. Let me go into a real-world example here. We'll have raptor eggs because it's the first thing that popped up. So you've got 7 silver per round of eggs. Wait a minute. Let me get something better. I'm sorry. I don't have anything better. Oh, well, there we go. Medium leathers. There we go. Because I have a full stack of them and they sell for 10 silver. It's just a rounder number. Rounder numbers work, okay? And they work wonders. So we're going to pretend, and this is how a tariff designed to protect your industry works. If you work in an industry where a foreign entity is dumping onto your shores, okay, and interfering with how your people do business, and it is the job of the government, it is an essential function of government to protect the people. It is 100% an essential function. So the government imposes a tax, a tariff on medium leathers for that stack. And just for giggles, we're going to say it is 25% because that is the current Donald Trump numbers. 25% from Mexico, China, and strangely enough, Canada. I guess you knuckleheads that live up north, you're getting punished for some reason. I don't know. It must be because of your Canadian health care. So with a 25% tariff, okay, that makes that stack of leather from you 12 silver, 50 copper. But mine is still at 10 silver. So you see how a protective tariff works now. If it's imported, it's subject to that tax. Oh, lovely morning coffee while I'm doing this. But for anything produced in-house inside the country, then then you don't pay that tax. And I'll explain how that tax is passed on to you in a moment. But that's how that works, okay? Now, take it for something now that cannot be produced here, like coffee beans. Believe it or not, coffee is not produced in the United States. There is no state, not even Hawaii, that produces coffee, and especially not on the scale that we would need to satisfy our thirst for coffees. Okay? There's just no way around that. So let's say it's 10 silver, okay? And then the tariff comes out, and that coffee is now $12.50. Yeah. And I don't understand why you're thinking that a foreign country pays for that, because they don't, but I will explain that piece in a minute. Okay, but that's the basics of this kind of a tariff. So would it be easier to warp back or no? Oh, I hate doing it this way, but we'll just battle on the way, and we can maybe get some more frosted lucky lizards in the process. Now, so in execution, when it is something that we do not produce, the price goes up automatically. No company in their right mind, and even no nation in their right mind, if it is a nationally subsidized industry, no nation state in their right mind is going to take a hosing like that. It gets passed on to the consumer, you. And yeah, we'll stealth through the Murloc minefield and then get to the road. Now, so here's how this all works in execution, okay? So the plan goes like this. The foreign entity produces your coffee at 10 silver. Okay, let's just say it's 100% done. I mean, let's just say it takes that amount, and that is the selling price for everything, and that gets everybody their payday and yada yada. Okay, that's what we're talking about, okay? It's 10 silver per can of coffee. And that pays everybody. It does everything it needs to do, and so on and so on. So what happens now is the government entity is saying, no, we're not going to do that for whatever reason, and we are going to punish you by imposing a tariff. And it is a punishment, okay? It's not a very elegant libertarian solution. I'm just going to tell you that now, because economic sanctions are economic sanctions, and tariffs are acts of war. doesn't matter who it's against, it is still an act of war. And so, Omni Imports, let's go over to them, because they're the ones that are bringing in your coffee. I named the company, that was what it was named in my accounting textbook. They called it Omni Imports. Omni means everything. They import everything. And now, the coffee comes to a port of entry, and remember, it's now 10 silver, right? And that gets everybody paid. And for the sake of simplicity, it costs that 10 silver to get it in there. Omni Imports isn't making a profit off of this coffee today. Not today. Now the government comes in and says, no, you are going to pay for importing this coffee. And you will pay an extra 2 silver, 50 copper for that. Ooh. Now, Omni Imports is a smart company, and they make a profit. Absolutely, utterly need to make a profit, because if you don't, why are you in business? But like I said, we're pretending that the 10 silver pays everybody. I'm just making good round figures for simplicity's sake. Okay, so be aware of that. So now, the price of the coffee can is now 12 silver, 50 copper. And here's the big deal about this. Ready? Because of the fact that it is 12 silver and 50 copper, Omni Imports is not going to take a loss. You can just get over that. If you think the import company is going to take a loss for you, no, they're not. Sorry, Charlie. This price gets passed on to you. Absolutely, utterly gets passed on to you. You are now paying 12 silver, 50 copper for your coffee. You're no longer going to pay 10 silver, because that's not how a tariff works. It absolutely, utterly is not how a tariff works. All prices like that are passed on to a consumer, not to anyone else. Oh, I have a sharp claw. I can send that for rage potions. Hooray! It's passed on to you. You pay this. No company, again, in their right mind, is going to take a hosing. Okay? Not the import company, not anyone else. Nobody is going to take that hosing for you. You pay the whole thing. You pay 12 silver and 50 copper for a coffee that should have only cost you 10 silver. Any tax on a product is automatically passed on to you. Why do you think sales tax is paid by you? Who pays that? You do. In other countries, they have a value-added tax. Guess who pays the value-added tax? You. But I do like value-added as opposed to sales, because it gives you the exact price. $1.99 is $1.99. You're not paying $2.12 or whatever your state sales tax is. It's value-added tax. $1.99 is $1.99. But in any event, it is a tax, and that tax is passed on to you. So what that tax does is create surpluses, and it shatters your supply and demand curve. And so I'm going to come back to that curve one more time that I've modified with the tariff price floor added in, and just to show you exactly what happens. But it also will shatter that curve, because you've reset your supply and demand curves in a way. They're constantly in flux. They're constantly moving. Okay, that's the weirdo math of economics. It's that you can't nail down the exact price point. You can economically theorize what can and will happen, and we have hundreds of years of experience in doing that, and that's why I said everything boils back down to one of two things, either supply and demand, or it boils down to a production possibilities curve or frontier. Maybe one day I'll explain that one to you, a PPC or PPF. But right now we just need to deal with supply and demand and get through that point. So we have gotten through that point, actually. Ta-da, right? And now I'm going to go ahead and get signed off here, but I'm going to finish off the Frosted Lucky Lizards here. There's a, let me, actually, no, let me cat move and I'll stealth like that, because I've been attacked while shadow melded before, but not while cat stealthed. So, as I've explained all of that to you, I'm hoping I explained all that to you in good enough detail. If not, leave a comment and ask a question. I'll be glad to answer it in a subsequent video and link it and link the original and all that lovely, wonderful stuff. So, for today's news in Warcraft, this is Nermall, named after one of my cats. And I wish you a great day and great gaming. Bye-bye, everybody.